in. Okay, so I've heard some opinions that the MGC6 feels like an Aoshi GTS, and I've also heard someone say that it feels like a super upgraded e-ink red. Personally, I think the Aoshi GTS is the super upgraded e-ink red, while the MGC6 is like an additional upgrade over the Aoshi GTS, at least for 90% of the cube's characteristics, but there's also that 10% that I will want to say later. So going from the red to the Aoshi, like the Aoshi maintains the same smooth feel as the red, but it eliminates the need to spring swap, which was a problem with the red, and it's also a massive improvement in speed. So this cube isn't that fast, well this one is really very fast. The corner cutting is also a slight improvement over the red, which does not appear much if I just want to do a corner cut test like straight up here, like that. But when I do an actual solve, there is a huge difference in the amount of lockups I make. Like that is already accounting for the fact that I did the 9-hole mod to my red. Well, I'll show to the MGC6. There are still some visible improvements. So, like, however, if you actually run the numbers, I average about I can't even sub 240 on the red, but I average about 222 or maybe 223 on the Aoshi and 221 on the MGC. So the two strongest points of the MGC are the speed and the weights, definitely. So the MGC6 is a lot faster and lighter than the Aoshi, and that is already accounting for the fact that the Aoshi is a lot faster than the red. And on top of that, like the MGC is just basically the fastest and also the lightest 6x6 I've ever come across, and like turning lightly on this cube is really not a problem. It's probably the best, it has the best speed of any 6x6. The corner cutting of the MGC6 is definitely quite great, but it doesn't exceed the Aoshi. And in my opinion, the Aoshi can cut good enough to get you through most situations, and there really isn't a need for 6x6 to have better corner cutting than the Aoshi. And the MGC6 is at least equal in every way, maybe plus and minus here and there in small areas that I don't notice, but it's definitely good enough to pass. The magnets of the MGC6 are also another very big plus point. So like they keep the cube in shape without excessive flexing. I can flex it because like the holes are quite big, in fact a bit bigger than they are on the Aoshi. But like one thing I really noticed between the MGC6 and the Aoshi is it doesn't occur on a good day, because like if I'm having a good day and my turning is on point, I actually don't really get very different times on these two cubes. But if I'm having a bad day and my turning is sloppy, I will actually flex my Aoshi out of shape, especially during the 3x3 stage. Well, because the MGC has slightly stronger magnets, like the inner layers hold together a lot better, and the 3x3 stage it just feels less flexy. And like, however, this may not be that fair of a comparison, because my Aoshi is a DIY magnetized one that I made before the factory one got released, and the factory one has stronger magnets than mine, but I still think the MGC would score the point over the Aoshi for stability. And another feature that the MGC6 offers is that the pieces are sized slightly differently from the Aoshi and the red. Directly comparing the cube size, the MGC is a slight bit bigger than the Aoshi, but if you were to compare the inner layers, so if you were to line up the two inner layers like that, you notice that they actually don't line out on top. The MGC has smaller inner layers than the Aoshi, and it has a bigger outer layer, so when I line them up like this, the outer layer is bigger, and even though the total cube size is actually bigger, I actually don't notice it unless I pick up the Aoshi and then pick up the MGC, and yeah, that's when I feel the difference. But let's say if I only want to pick up the cube without any comparison and I just do sessions like that, I wouldn't even notice the difference. So the bigger cube size, although I don't see that as a positive point, but it's not noticeable enough to be a minus point, whereas the inner to outer layer ratio is definitely better, because bigger outer layers and smaller inners are always welcome. They provide a nicer grip during your 3x3 stage and definitely allow you to turn a little bit faster. Okay. The mechanism of the MGC6 looks like what the Aoshi GTS should have been in the first place. So in fact, if you were to go back to my Aoshi GTS versus Haze versus Spark video, full review, not the unboxing video, I actually said something along the lines of, honestly, I want Moi to make an Aoshi GTS2 with like this spike just implemented, and then YJ ended up doing it instead of Moi. So this is the very mechanism of the Aoshi GTS2 that I asked for. Comparing the MGC6 to the Aoshi GTS, which I don't have, but this is Aoshi WR that recycles the same mechanism, and this is the Aoshi GTS. If you look at the pieces of those two cubes, the second layer actually has this extra part here that will go inside the third layer space, and I mentioned this in quite a lot of my videos already. But what is so important about this is like basically all those pieces on the big cube which are troublemakers, especially those that lie along like the sides here, and on the 8x8 this is even more obvious because if you were to corner cut like that, second layer pieces are the ones that tend to pop out the most. But if your second layer is just so big that all those troublemaking pieces, like they're so big at the bottom, and like even though they look small on top, like at the bottom they're just so much bigger and so much more difficult to slide out of place, you really reduce the chance of all these problems happening. Without this extension, you can actually just corner cut a cube like that and like get the piece to slide out of place much more easily. But with a big extension on top, like this piece here has much less room to jiggle around. And likewise to like some of the smaller pieces here, like this one. This is a piece that likes to pop out of most big cubes, but it definitely provides one extra angle. Like the MGC6 basically follows the design of all the other Aoshi GTS cubes, whereas the real Aoshi GTS does not. So you can see this, the Aoshi GTS is completely flat on the side, while the MGC6 does feature that signature protrusion that all the other Moe cubes have, but YJ was the one who did this. However, the MGC6 does have a weakness, and that is the plastic quality. So making the plastic thinner does make the MGC lighter, but it sacrifices the durability of the cube. And while I haven't damaged this MGC6, and I've also heard other stories where pieces can break. So looking at some of the pieces, especially like this centerpiece here, it does look very thin and very easily broken. And then the plastic of the MGC also feels significantly cheaper than on the Aoshi GTS. So the Aoshi GTS just feels extremely premium and polished on all three of its layers. And it's really, the turning is just really very smooth. Whereas for the MGC, like the turning, especially on the second layer and on the third layer, it does feel a lot clickier and scratchier than on the Aoshi. I think it's partly a contribution from the thinner plastic, and maybe I'm not too sure about the exact reason why, because even though there's an extra interlocking point between the second and the third layer, like I showed earlier, I do not feel the same about the Ultron WR and GTS and the Aofu GTS. Like those two also feel just as smooth as the Aoshi. But then like I do feel that like this is somewhat justifiable considering that the MGC's price tag is significantly lower than the Aoshi.